But you can't be here. Horse should be here if you're the director. I mean, you're supposed to be in Tenpony right now. How can you be here?" He gaped at her, and Twilight frowned, her brows knitting together as she trotted towards him. "I am sick." She thumped her hoof against his chest firmly. "And tired of being told where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. I'm tired of secrets. I am sick and tired of directors of the OIA telling me what I should do." She shot an angry look at Goldenblood. "Honestly, what is it with your office? Your office is like the office of sneaky shenanigans." Goldenblood laughed, and that seemed to spook the twins and Trueblood even more. "It's a very long story. Hopefully, someday you'll get to hear it." He shook his head with a smile as he looked at Trueblood. "Well, then, care to accompany us, Trueblood? The Ministry Mayor is curious about where Flux comes from. We're showing her." His mouth moved again. I need to contact Horace. Excuse me." He started to run away. "No," Twilight said firmly. "I think I'd like you to come along too, Trueblood. It appears that when you brought Project Chimera to my attention, you failed to mention several key aspects of it. I'd like you here to explain everything you might have missed, without a director telling me what I should and shouldn't know." Trueblood just stared at her with a mortified expression. Goldenblood smiled and shook his head. She looked at him sharply. "What?" "Nothing. It's just nice to see you like this again," he murmured softly as together the five continued flickering down the hall. I couldn't help myself. I trot along behind them with Boo at my heels. Personally, I was just dying to find out more of Goldenblood's secrets myself. The group disappeared and reappeared as we walked together. 3 more times, Trueblood tried to excuse himself, and every time, Twilight refused to let him scurry off. The windows looked down at another large room. This was full of dozens of pods similar to the ones that held the foals in the Fluttershy clinic. Many of them had clearly been damaged or tampered with, and several held bones inside. Twilight looked down at with obvious disgust. "What are those?" "Hazardous biological samples," Goldenblood explained. "Combinations where either the host was dangerous or the combination unstable. Some combinations, phoenixes, dragons, manticores, produced a pony hybrid that was simply too aggressive for field safety." "We store other unique biological samples as well," Trueblood muttered. "You never know when you might find them useful." "You'd better not have any samples from me in there," Twilight said in shock. "Luna expressly forbade any biological samples from herself, Celestia, or the Ministry Mayors, or myself," Goldenblood replied, looking over at Trueblood. "She was rightly concerned that some ponies might try some inappropriate meddling." "I don't like your implication," Trueblood retorted. "You weren't supposed to," Goldenblood said pointedly. The next set of windows opened up into a room that resembled a sort of abattoir, and I was so glad that I couldn't smell the contents. There were 4 steel tables in a row with 4 machines hanging overhead that reminded me of old Hank's limbs. One wall was covered in steel hatches like dozens of refrigerators, and there were dirty white containers scattered everywhere. "This is our organ harvesting operation," Goldenblood said smoothly. "It's fairly new. Only been in operation a year or so. The system automatically removes any and all visible organs from any subject placed on the table. Then they're loaded into stasis chambers for delivery all across Equestria," he said as he pointed down at the white boxes with a hoof. "Organ... what?" Twilight's mane frizzed all at once. "Does Fluttershy know about this?" she asked as she pointed down at the room. "In a general sense," Trueblood muttered. "She understood the crippling need for ponies all across Equestria to have compatible organs. She might be somewhat ignorant about the specifics. All she needs to know is that when a little colt or filly needs a heart transplant, her ministry can provide it. And if not, she can keep them alive till proper organs are arranged. She doesn't need to know how it works. Twilight covered her mouth and shook her head before stepping back. I can't believe you would do this. Flim coughed. Well, there was quite a market incentive for it. Flam tapped his hoofs together. The Ministry of Peace was quite a lovely operating budget, and we thought it'd be a shame to be left out. Twilight looked at the pair. You're disgusting. Oh. Goldenblood arched a brow as he trot in front of her. Would you rather have ponies die when we have the magic and technology to save them? If so, make the command. We'll shut down that room forever. Twilight looked horrified, and he shook his head. This is why we keep you and your friends in the dark, so that you don't have to know these things. I didn't come here for this, Goldenblood, Twilight stammered. No, but you came here for secrets, Goldenblood retorted evenly. And I'm giving them to you, Twilight. Horrible, bloody, terrible secrets in all their raw glory. He stared into her eyes. If you can't handle something as simple as this, if the knowing of a little secret is too much for you to bear, then stop and go home. That returned some iron to her, and she glared back at him. I'm not giving up, Goldenblood, but... Her eyes turned to the window. Then let us continue. It's time you met Chimera as more than just notes and paper. Goldenblood said quietly. I copied Twilight's expression perfectly. This wasn't going to be good. Why was Boo cowering like that? Oh, crap. Brass swooped up and smashed through the glass, showering me with shards that I barely deflected with my upraised hooves. There you are! She shouted in glee as she pounced at me. They said they spotted a pony with a black and red mane, but you wouldn't believe how glad I am that I'm the one who found you. Some pony talked way too much. I brought the revolver up, but unlike Fury, Brass didn't just let me blast her in the face. In a flash, the mare was upon me, clawing and stomping and biting and stinging. Had any of my limbs been flesh and blood, they would have been torn away. As it was, the hazmat suit and Reaper barding beneath it didn't stop the stinger from plunging into my side. I instantly started to feel woozy as the venom began to work through my system. You have no idea just how much I've wanted to finish you. She knocked the gun from my mouth, cackling. I just wish you were the grey cunt. I'm looking forward to ramming the Gatling beam gun right up her. I interrupted her by grabbing her neck and ramming my horn deep into her throat. That piercing headbutt made her choke and gag. I only wished that I had 3 magic bullets to follow up with, and sats to instant cast them with. She jerked back, my horn coming out with a small burst of blood, trying to leap back out of the window. But I couldn't have her getting away and finding help or circling back for another attack. No matter how sickly I felt from her poison in me, I couldn't let her go. As she perched on the edge, I rolled forward and launched myself at her, wrapping my legs around her throat as we tumbled through the window together and down into the heap of garbage and old remains. I kept up the pressure on her throat as we landed. She choked as we thrashed against the ground. If I died now, would my legs keep choking until she went after me? I wondered. Except, simply killing her wouldn't be winning. Finally, I had to shove her away as hard as I could and dig through my bags for a healing potion and some anti-venom. As she fought for breath, I slugged down one and then the other. The healing potion wasn't all that effective, but Glory's antidote counteracted a lot of the woozy sensation immediately. I had all of 6 seconds before she was upon me. She was deadly in close combat, but she was too damn fast for me to keep out of close combat. Her tail made grappling a risky proposition, though it was becoming my best bet. Watching her closely while trying to dodge, I noticed that her wounds weren't regenerating. I could take her down if I could just get her down. High-caliber shots would do it, but that would require a big rifle and a pony capable of using it. Explosives? I didn't see anything that would otherwise go boom in here. Revolver was up there. No magic bullets. Shit. You've killed so many of my lovers and pets. I'm going to feed them you to them, and clone you, and feed you to them again, she swore as her lips spread wide, showing her dozens of sharp and pointy teeth. How could it be that the undying pony who blows up was easier to kill than the idiot who screwed beasts? The blackjack diet. Somehow that'll make it all better. Be careful. I bet I taste like regret and failure, I muttered as I looked around. You know, I have to wonder just what has to break in a mare to fuck her up as much as you. Think, Blackjack. Think? Oh, I could make up some sort of sob story for you, but the fact is that this is the way I am and I like it. Now quit stalling and start dying, she growled, baring her fangs. Oh well, thinking was my forte anyway. I had barely enough time to draw my sword before she was upon me. The silvery steel sang with a single deadly note that made me grin even as I felt a twinge inside at the sound. The wild swing was enough to make her draw up. I thought I was supposed to clench as hard as possible on the handle and swing as fast as I could, but as I held the slim weapon, I realized I had to relax my jaw, increase the arc of my swing. The Manticore hybrid leaned back and sprang forward with a snap, and I thought for sure I had her, but the bite stopped short. Instead of snapping her fangs at me, her tail thrust over my horizontal swing and tagged me hard in the side of the neck. The pointed shank withdrew with a spurt of blood that made me sway. I really hoped there was enough anti-venom still in me to counteract the poison. I reversed the swing, but she jerked her tail back. I made a lunge to try and spear her face, but she ducked low, launching again and dragging her claws along my exposed throat. I nicked her ear with my counterattack, but again she was too fast for me to do anything substantial. If I'd been fresh and blood, I'd probably be bleeding out right now. Only my body's automatic regeneration had slowed the bleeding from my neck. I suspected that if I had my Pip-Buck, the health monitoring systems would be informing me that I had all kinds of fucked up in the head and torso regions. She seemed quite happy to slowly rip me to pieces, bit by bit though, and my regeneration certainly wouldn't be enough to recover from that. And from the distant sounds of yelling coming from beyond one of the room's doorways, I suspected that soon I was going to be quite thoroughly screwed. Oh great, why'd I have to think of that? Suddenly, there was a click and a whirl of fans. The lights overhead flickered and came on, and the vents began to blast cold air and rattle loudly. The mechanical limbs suspended above me on one of the tables jerked to life, and started to swing and whirl and beep. Most importantly, the doors leading towards the shouts hissed closed and locked. I looked at Brass, but she was looking around in bafflement. Finally, I shrugged and tried several sudden slashes, barely jumping away from a bite that would probably have finished me. The Manticore pony snarled as she circled to my side, but I moved back, keeping the table with its flailing arms between us as I struggled to use my brain. I wasn't going to be able to outfight her at this rate. She'd have to have me killed by now if I hadn't been augmented. If I attacked first, chances were that she would dodge and then nail me with her stinger. I needed to make her attack first if I wanted a chance at hitting her. How to do that, though?